Alright guys, so I changed the color of this. I didn't like the gloss, so I got this flat blue, the LP78, so I changed it to that. I like the color of that better. I think that fits it more of a nicer look. And we're getting the rims painted. So I got the inside of the gold done. That took a little bit of time. And I use old school testers, just the testers enamel. Just enamel gold. I love the old enamel paints, these old tester jars. So I'm working on the tires. My hands keep going numb, so I do a little bit of time. So I got this one done. It looks okay. Has a few spots. I'm not overly proudest moment. I'm gonna sand this shit. I probably should have did that before the lettering, but I was trying my hand at it. So that should look pretty good in there. So I got this one going. I'm just kind of picking at it a little bit at a time. I start on one and I let it sit. And another thing we're doing is the rear spoiler. So what it is, I glued this together and I put some filler in here to fill that crack a little bit before the two pieces where they come together. And I had a little bit of edging here, so I brushed the primer on nice and heavy to fill the rest of it in after I sanded that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the car. So I glued these on obviously ahead of time, and this was tricky. I don't know if this would have been a good thing to do once it was painted, and I got this where they line up perfect in here. So I think I'm going to do is take and glue this on before I paint it, and I'm going to take my filler and we're going to fill that piece in right here, because on the box art there is no gap there. That's like one smooth piece. Painting wise, I don't think I'll have an issue, or decaling, because it does go across the bottom pretty good. So I think I'll be okay with that. I'm going to try that. I'm hoping that's going to work out for me, but that's what I'm going to do. But before I do this, I'm going to get this sanded down and make sure that's the way I like it. And then we'll take, if I don't drop it, then we'll take and glue this on here and let that cure. And then we'll putty this up and then we'll sand it smooth. That way you'll see no seam in there, and it'll look like it's one piece, because that's how the box art is and that's how the real car is. So that's where we're at so far. So I'm going to keep picking away at these. Like I say, that one looks good. I got to sand it yet, and I haven't even started any other ones. So what I'm lettering this with is the old Jelly Roll number 5 gel pen. I find this works the best to do this. So I get one of the smaller points, and it works really good. If you guys I don't know what you guys use for lettering, but it works really good. I can't really do this out here because it just not going to work for me, because I can't really see it that well, but just to let you see how good that covers. I mean, it covers really good. Have to work with that a little bit more, but just to see, I mean, it's easy. It's just obviously taking an ink pen and drawing over top of it. So if you're good at penmanship, you're good to go. So I'm going to work on these a little bit and I'll bring you back. Okay guys, so I got this sanded down real smooth here, and I got my corners done. So I'm going to glue this on here before we paint, and I'm going to fill in that seam there. A little dab will do ya. Okay, give it a few seconds to make its way in, and we'll color good. So now we'll fill those seams in once that cures as close as possible. Okay, we'll leave it like that. We'll let her dry for a bit. We'll come back and check on it. So I'll probably let this cure overnight, and we'll come back to it. Looking at this, if this was painted, decaled on that first, I think it'll be a hard time trying to get that put on there. So decaling will probably be the toughest thing. I don't think it'll be too bad, but it's pretty open under here once it's, once you're at it. So I don't think it'll be too bad. All right, we're gonna let that sit for, like I say, overnight, and then we will get back on it. We'll start filling that in and sanding it down. I'm sure it's gonna take a couple applications. So it's gonna be the time length part of the body work, but once that's done, I think it'll look pretty nice. I think it'll be worth the time. Alright guys, we are back on the Mustang IMSA Racer. So we have that spoiler glued on, right? So I started sanding this a little bit. So I took my sanding stick. This is just nail file sticks I pick up at anywhere. Rite Aids, Walmart, I mean, wherever you go. Wherever you go. And a lot of these you pick up, they got different grits. It's a little coarse, it's a little smoother. So I started out here by taking this and sanding this down. And yes, you can use the Tamiya sanding ones and all that stuff, but I don't have those here. This is what I have on hand, so that's what we're going to use, and it's going to do okay. So this is nicely secured, and like I say, I started sanding it down. So I want to get rid of this edge. So this edge here is a little bit of an overlap, so I started sanding this down here a little bit on this edge, just a little bit. And it don't take much to walk this down, so you gotta be careful because you don't want to leave a weird spot, you know, like a flat spot. So you're gonna have to shave it down and check it every once in a while to see where you're at. Should I use a smaller file? Absolutely. Like I said, that's the only one I got here. And I'm getting patient, so that's pretty decent there. So what we're going to do at this point is put some filler on it, and we're going to try to level that out a little bit. I'm not overly worried about the line on the inside, because it's not something you're probably going to really notice as well. But I'm really worried about this one here. That's one I'm mainly after. So what I'm going to do is use some of my spot putty, just my good old trusty Bondo spot putty. This stuff works pretty good. I have to say it's probably not as good as like the Tamiya seam filler or anything like that. So I'm going to try this first and see how it does, because I think the microns to it isn't as fine. It's a little harder to shave it out, but it will get me that gap and fill the crack gap type thing going on. So it should do the job for me. This probably can take a couple applications to make it to what I want, but that's okay. We'll start it out and kind of go from there. So I don't want to put too much on it because I don't want to have to sand all day trying to level it back out. So we're going to go just enough to where I can feather it. I want to get the front of that real good. Same on the other side. And now this here I'm going to let it sit for quite a while. Take a little bit off my hands because we got a little too much on here. And I wrapped around just enough around the edge there so I can get in the front. This stuff will dry pretty quick. Actually, I don't want it up in here, so I'm going to wipe that out real quick. Because I kind of fat fingered it. And there's other methods of doing this. I'm just kind of showing you guys the way. Just a quick, not a backyard way if you want to go that route, but if you don't really have a lot of the stuff on hand, this works really well. Now I'm just going to let that cure, and once that does, we'll be able to go through and take care of it. So, okay, so we're going to let that cure. We're going to let that sit. I'm going to give this, actually I could probably put it in the Susie Bake Oven. It'll be ready in about 15 minutes. But I'm going to let it sit for a bit because I really want to get this painted. So other than that, we're going to move on to another little project here. I'm going to set this to the side. I may put it in the oven because I really want to get the front of this painted. I want to get this in primer, which we're going to primer it in white, and then we're going to paint it, and I want to get it clear coated, or not clear coated, but decaled. So I want to get it painted, and this is getting painted blue. And then we'll go through and decal it and then clear it out, because this can be done now. I mean, there's no reason to get this, to hold off and get this done later on. So looking at the instructions on the box, they don't show you this, but this here is blue. From here to here, this line, this is actually the same blue that's down here. I've been trying to look at prototype photos, and man, it's just hard to find a good picture of the car that's like a static picture. This picture seemed pretty rare for this car for some reason. There's another modeler online that built this, and this is in white. But looking at the box art, I'll show you the box art quick. You guys can see this. This is that spot here. So you can see on the box art, that's blue. That's the same blue as this. So that's what I'm going to do in mine. You can see the side piece comes up, which is right here. It stops right there. You can see it right there. And you got your windshield. So this here, which would be the spot here, that's blue. So that's what we're going to do. This is going to get painted to blue, just like this down here. Alright guys, it's been a couple days, probably. And we have our pieces back here spot puttied. So that's been sanded down nice. Showed you that earlier. So we're going to sand this down. So I got one of the tires done. Thought that turned out pretty cool. I sanded that down so much. Oh my gosh. I mean, I tried to get that line out of there, but wow, I sanded and sanded and sanded. I thought, man, there's going to be nothing left of it time I get that out of there. So that's why I'm going to leave it for right now. So I thought that turned out pretty cool. Okay, so anyways, we're going to start sanding this. I'm going to start with some 600. So I'm starting with 600 just automotive. And as usual, I'm just going to cut it down with my scissors. This should cut pretty fast, so like I say, I might have to give this a couple applications. Being it's a smaller area, I may go too far with it. Sanding sticks probably would be the key for this, but I don't have any that small. So I can see that's my edge right there. So this is the edge. This is the edge for the body, which is where we want to contour it to. But this is my little bit of an overlap, so I actually feel pretty good right there. So I don't want to take too much more. Maybe feather it a little bit down here, and we'll just work it around the front. Now the front's going to be a little more difficult because I don't have a sanding stick, so I just have to be careful with it. And once I get this smooth here, I'm going to change sandpapers and I'm going to go a little finer, just so we don't have grit in there. So right now you can see there's a little bit of a tab there from me applying it with my sausage finger. Like I say, I know there's going to be a little seam on the inside, but I'm not overly worried about that. Okay, we'll see how that turns out. Now I'm going to switch over to some 2500 just to smooth it down, and we'll leave it at that. So if that looks nice, we're going to leave that. It kind of looks pretty good. I think we might be alright maybe with the one shot here, but we'll find out. We'll see how that does. Get that little spot there in the back, and we'll call it good. Okay, move on to the next side. We'll go back to our 600. I can't remember. I think this side was the more rougher side that had the bigger gap, because one side the gap was pretty close. I just had to fill a seam in, which I believe was this side. So this side here is probably the big gap. So I like to start with the edges first, kind of smooth them in, and then we'll finish in the contour. Because if you start in the center, you kind of overwork in the progress then. That's something you want to take your time with. You don't rush it. I mean, you want it to look nice, you know. My problem is I don't have much feeling in my fingers, so I really can't tell if it's smooth or not. So I'll kind of have to go by visual. And looking at it, it looks pretty good, but once you primer it, that's the telltale. The glossier you put on it, the better the detail will come out to you. You'll be able to see. Okay, so we're going to switch back to my 2500, and we'll give it a little bit of smooth time here. Like I say, the Tamiya filler works better. I just don't have any here. This works good. The only thing with this, it does cut fast, which is nice. But on the other hand, sanding way more than you want to because you have to redo it. So we're going to try that. The only spot I don't like is this spot here. See, we got that spot right there, and then here. You're going to see that. I mean, thankfully it's white, and there's also a decal that goes on there. So that is a plus, but still, I don't want it to be something that's really noticeable. So as of right now, it's looking pretty good. I may have to throw some primer on just to see. So we're going to get this cleaned up, and we're going to get it taped up. We're going to throw some primer on it and see what we ended up at. Alright, so we got our Mustang all washed up and cleaned up. She cleaned up nice, some nice soapy water. That feels okay. Like I say, primer will tell me the story. And if it's still a little rough, we can go back and hit it again. It's not a big deal. And kind of go from there. So I think we'll be close, but we'll see. We'll see. So other than that, I just got to tape up the silver and tape up this blue, and then we're good to go to primer. There's no taping involved on this and this. And I'm going to do that in the meantime. So we are using the Mr. Base White 1000. So we're going to spray this guy, and we're going to go from there. So as long as that looks decent, I'm going to give that just a light wet sand. Why my tape is still on here, and I will shoot it with the white. But we'll see what it looks like. Now this here, we can just go ahead and paint this. So this has, it almost looks like mold lines. So right in here, it's pretty, they're pretty deep. They're pretty deep, but it's kind of weird how they are. So I'm going to leave them because it almost looks like that's how they made the body work. I tried to sand them down, but my gosh, it's a lot. But the way the ridge detail feels, it's almost like maybe that was how the body was made. So I'm going to leave it, just give it that assembled look to it. I don't know. We're going to leave it though, because it's quite a line. And shaving that down, I'm going to take the detail out of this corner here and the corner here. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Leave it alone. All right, so we got it all cleaned up and ready to go. So yeah, we'll get her in some primer and we'll see how she goes from there. Okay guys, so after wet sanding, that turned out pretty nice. Pretty happy with that. I'm gonna have to primer it one more time. The only thing I could see is I have a little bit of a divot right there on both sides where it kind of goes around the back. So I'm going to give that just a little touch right there. And we're going to let that sit, and then I can give that nice smooth. Looking at it from the side, you can see almost a little line right there from when it comes down where it meets. I want that nice smooth and round. So that's smooth back here. So we're looking pretty good. Top looks good. Front looks good. That seam's gone. So we're looking pretty decent. Like I say, I think I'll have to give it just a touch here and here. And we'll call that good. And I'll hit it one more time with primer. And we'll call this part done, and it should be ready for paint. So like I say, I'm just using the Spondo spot putty. This works really good. Been using it for years. I can see this was a big tube, and it's getting about down. The only thing is it is a little harder to apply. So a lot of times I'll use like a back of a paintbrush, something like that, to apply it, because I don't want a lot on there, just enough to go around that contour. You know, for small spaces. Nothing too over top. We just want to go around that corner, smooth out some, so we don't have more work than we need to out of it. Same as this side. Like I said, I'm not going all the way back, but I'm taking a little back further than I'd like to go. All right, we'll let that set. We'll leave that set for a day or so, then we'll come back to it. So we're going to get these sanded down, and next video we're going to do painting on it. We'll get this painted in the blue. The blue we're painting MCW. This is dark blue. This is a pretty good color. This is in the race section, I believe, in the Hobby Models Cadillacs, like the 711 blue. That's a pretty good match to this, so it should look pretty good. So I went through and I did some of these here. I took a lot of you guys' suggestions and did this. Yeah, that works amazing. Thanks for the tips on that, guys. Awesome. So I got a few more to do. This one's still pretty solid yet, but I did about, I don't know, quite a few of these with the shrink tube, and wow, what a difference. I mean, that just like unbelievable. They don't even move. I mean, these to me were kind of junk, but brought back to life, so we're good to go. So thanks for the tip on that, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet sand this down. These are all primered white, and I'll get these ready for paint for next time around. And I'd like to paint the body all at one time, so it kind of just saves me the mix of everything. So what I'm going to do is get this thing sanded down. I'll let it set one more time. I'll primer it once more. Next video we're going to do is we're going to paint this, and we'll get maybe the blue painted on it as well. So because the front hood clip, the whole 9 yards, this whole thing can be painted, so that'd be cool just to paint that. We can decal it. I mean, this part of it can be done. Same as the back, that can be painted, because I think I'm going to paint this separate and apply it later on once it's painted. I'll have to look in the instructions, see it'd be better to do it now or later. Not sure. And then we got these hood vents. Actually, not a hood vent. These are more of the kind of a rear cowl diffuser vent. These sit up in here. So I'll see if that'd be best to do those now or later. Probably put them on later. I may do before I paint the white. I may put some panel line in there just to give some depth before the white goes on. Same as here, and that way it'll give me some black shadowing before the white paint. Because I'll panel line it, and if I get any on the outside, I can sand it. And I'll leave that nice black in there, so when it goes to paint, the white paint won't really fill 100% over the black. So it should look pretty good. So that's what we're going to wrap up on this for right now, guys. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys watching, tuning into the channel, and we will see you guys on the next build. You guys have a good one, and once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.